This shirt is bothering me. I don't like how the collar is going. All right, page 4. What we need to try to do from now on is set this up underneath a light, because it gets real dark and I'm old.
It'll roll back pretty easy.
Yeah, but that's too far. I'll suffer. But from now on, let's try to do that. Or that one. All right. A good name is rather to be chosen than great riches and loving favor rather than silver and gold. Proverbs 22:1. Proverbs 22:1. Yeah, it's recording. Constant principles result in stable lives. You got to have principles in your life and be consistent with them. They have to become second nature to you. And to do so, when you do that, it creates a stable life. The Bible says a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. That's a man who doesn't know what he believes. You got to know what you believe, what principles you stand on, who you are as a man. If not, you'll fall either way. It's a little boy, it's teenagers who hang around with other people, and whatever crowd he hangs with, that's who he is at the moment. And you guys know what I'm talking about. Some of you have probably grown up where you were taken to church, you were with church kids, and you acted that way. And then you were with a different group of kids, and that's how you acted. You know, then there was your school friends, and you acted that way. And there are men who never grow up. They have no clue of who they are, what they stand for, and what they believe in, and they just go with whatever crowd they're with. And you're unstable in every part of your life, all your ways. You're unstable at work, you're unstable at home, you're unstable wherever you are. Nobody knows who you are or what you believe because neither do you. And so we want to learn some principles that we can stand on, that we can be consistent with, that'll keep us from compromising, because that's what we're talking about. Small compromises lead to great disasters. I find it amazing how little decisions can be big things. I remember one time at camp, long time ago, when I used to go to camp, not when I was working at camp, preacher got a phone call, and it was bad, and he had to leave, and somebody else had to preach that night. He did come back the next day or the day after that to finish the week. But what had happened is this girl, she was about ready to graduate from high school, and she was sending out invitations, and this is the old days where you mailed everything. And she lived out in the country, and she told her mom goodbye, that she was going to go mail her invitations at the post office. Now, they lived out in the country, and there were two ways to get to their house. It's one of those where there's like a diamond-shaped thing, you know, and you could go one way, and each way would lead to the same place, but one's a little longer than the other. Well, there was one way that her family seemed to always take, and for some reason, she took the other way that day. And they hardly ever take that way. In front of her, down the road a little way, she gets hit by a semi, and it kills her. Just a little decision. And I remember that to this day, how it just blew my mind. A small decision like that had such a profound, such a big result. And that's how life is. A little decision, I'm not going to go to church today. And then your son or your daughter, who are just starting to realize things, sees that, and they say in their mind, church is not worth it because Dad didn't go today. And you know they think like that. You used to be a kid. and it can affect the rest of their lives. A small decision that Sunday to stay home can affect them the rest of their lives. Didn't bother you. You went back to church the next Sunday. But you planted in their minds that church is not that important. We have to have principles that we stand on, even if it means we lose people. And that's not easy. Before I got married, I told my fiance, no matter what happens, we'll always go to church. This house will always go to church. She agreed. A principle of mine, a thing that I believe in strongly. Years later, I don't want to go to church anymore. I want to stop going to church, she says. I have to make a decision. Now, I'd already told her up front what my principle was, did I not? We go to church in this house. It was easy, actually. Difficult, but easy. My principle was already there. What I believed was already there, and I stood with it. And I said, we will always go in this, from the beginning to the end. That's what I believed, and that's what I stood on. We will always go to church. So she decided, not her. It hurts sometimes. You will lose people. You'll lose friends. You will. But be a man. And men know what they believe, and they have principles. They have character. And they would rather be known for integrity and principles and what they believe in than to have all the gold in the world and all the riches. Because respect cannot be bought. You cannot pay people to respect you. Oh, they'll take your money. They will. Wow, I don't know. I'm not even getting to these points. This is the introduction. But you can think of sports people. I can think of a few. They were real jerks, but they had a lot of friends, right? Then the sports died out, and they got old, and they got out of the sport, and there's not as much money and fame, and all of a sudden, what? All those people are what? Gone. They didn't respect that person. They liked their money. Money cannot buy respect. Money cannot buy love. If somebody doesn't love you, you cannot make them love you. It's like trying to hold on to water in your hands. And you can't pay them to love you. So be who you are. Know what you believe. Stand on your principles. Be a man of integrity and honesty. And you'll be respected. The Bible says, even your enemies will respect you. They won't like you, but they'll respect you. For instance, and this is way out there, I hate the New England Patriots. They always I think they stole 2 Super Bowls from us. That's just my own opinion. But besides that, they always stopped us. And they're always a pain in my butt. But you know what? Even though I hate them, man, I have to give them their props. They do things the right way. Usually, I think they cheated. But Tom Brady, I hate him. But I also respect him. I know it sounds weird. He does what he does. You got to respect his work ethic and everything that he does. But boy, I hate seeing him win. And that's what the Bible says. Your enemies will even say, man, I have to give him his props. I don't like him. I hate him. But, you know, he's a man of character. He's a man of integrity. And sometimes your enemies will come to you for help. Not because they like you or they love you. It's because they know you're a man of honesty, decency, and integrity. And sometimes your ex-wife will come to you for help because that's what she knows about you. So, principles that you can stand on, things to be consistent with, that will create a stable life. A life that's not back and forth and up and down. It's consistent, it's straight. I'm not saying there won't be troubles. I'm just saying you know answers. Like I said, it was easy. I didn't like what the results were going to be, but it was easy decision because that was my principles. Next, first one, integrity. We talked about it. Honest people are not slaves to lies or haunted by their deceit. You're not an honest person. You have lies that you become a slave to, that you are attached to, that you have to maintain. You have to maintain that lie. And anybody questions you on it, you have to add to it or defend it. Or you go home at night and you're sleeping in bed and you can't sleep very well because this lie is bothering you. Be a man of integrity. Just say what it is. A lot of times people come to me and they'll ask me, Mike, what do you think about this? Or I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? And I'll look at them and I say, are you sure you want me to tell you? And they'll say, yeah. I said, no, listen to me. You probably aren't going to like what I'm going to say. Do you really want me to tell you? Yeah, I want to hear what you got to say. And every time after that, I tell them what I think. And every time they get angry with me, and I warned them first, go find somebody else. Because I'm just going to tell you the truth. Be a man who's honest. If it's not yours, leave it alone. We teach this to little kids, and I don't know why adults can't get it. If it's not yours, don't touch it. These right here, if you keep them to yourself, you don't touch people, and you don't touch their things, you can never get in trouble. Did you know that? You'll never be accused of things either. But we can't keep our hands off of other people's things. We can't keep our hands off of other people. And we're not honest. You know, are you the kind of person when you walk into the room, people start hiding things? Because they can't trust you? Be the kind of person that somebody would let you babysit their kid. I think that's the ultimate goal for any person. If I could trust you with my child, you're a man of integrity, you're a woman of integrity. Responsibility. People who hold themselves accountable for their own acts, who are faithful to their obligations, create strong bonds with others. If you're a person who's responsible and you can show up and I can count on you, create strong bonds. When I used to manage places, there were certain people I could count on to be there, and then some I know the schedule says you're supposed to be here, but I'm hoping. I knew the people who could be on time, and the other people, boy, I just hope they make it sometime in the area. And then they cry when we get rid of them. Can't count on you. Can your friends count on you? Are you responsible for your own life? You got it organized. And you take care of your own business. Can I count on you when it's time of trouble? When you say you're going to meet me sometime, someplace, are you going to meet me there? Or am I going to stand there and wait? Not even a phone call. That's the one that drives me. You couldn't even call me or text. Nowadays, you can just text me. Dude, I'm going to be late. Or, no, I can't make it after all. That's okay. But not a thing, and I'm standing there and I'm waiting on you. I'm going to think you're not responsible. You better be one or two things. You better be in jail or in the hospital, or I'm going to think you're not responsible. Compassion. People who sincerely care about the problems of others have friends during their own times of trouble. Be a person who has compassion. Care what happens to other people. If nothing else, have that name. I remember when I graduated from college. Boy, I was young, and I was supposed to give a speech, and I gave my little speech. You know, it was Bible college, and I gave my little speech. And in the end, I said, when I'm dead, I'm in my 20s, I'm talking about dying. When I'm dead, this is all I want on my tombstone. He cared. I've tried to reach that my entire life. I want to care. I want people to say he cared. Not that he was rich, not that he drove a nice car. You can't say he was the most intelligent person you ever met. That's a fact. But I can make up with a lot of defects in my life if I care. And so can you. Isn't that what we want from politicians too, really? I mean, I don't care if you're a donkey or an elephant. If I truly believed you cared, boy, that's going to be a real strong temptation for me to vote for you, if I truly believed it. Isn't that what you want from your preacher? Isn't that what you want from your family and friends? So be it. The Bible talks about casting your bread upon the water, and it comes back to you. The Bible says you sow what you reap. So whatever you put out there, it's an unwritten law in the Bible. It just kind of basically hides it a little bit. It's a mystery. Let me give it to you up front. What you put out there, you get. Remember, Peter pulls the sword and cuts the ear off the soldiers, and Jesus takes it and heals it, puts it back on, and he says to Peter, those who live by the sword, die by the sword. What you put out there, Peter, you get. You put out violence, you'll get violence. You put out compassion and caring and love, you get it back. Now, I remember teaching this lesson, the guy said, no, I've loved this one person and cared about this one person, and they could care less about me, and they don't love me back. I didn't say necessarily from that person. But when you're out of need, in your time of need, and when you need compassion and you need love, you'll get it. People see these things. They hear these things. And it comes back to you. Put out there what you want, and it'll come back. I want people to be honest with me. So guess what I have to do? I need to be honest. You ever want to get a liar angry? I mean, really angry? Lie to him. Liars hate liars. You know, if you really want to get a thief angry, I mean, just tick them off. Steal from them. Oh, they hate that. You want to get a gossiper really angry? Gossip about them. Be a man of honesty and integrity, responsibility, compassion. I don't have a clock. I don't know what time it is. Somebody let me know real quick so I see how much time I got. 25. Oh, I got 5 minutes, okay? Forgiveness. If you get nothing else tonight, nothing else, get this. People who practice mercy and grace when they find themselves wronged by others never allow bitterness into their hearts. Bitter people are lonely people. Anybody here say, oh man, I can't wait to go see that bitter old lady? Anybody? I've seen bitter old ladies. I've seen bitter old men. And they wonder why nobody wants to be around them. I've seen bitter middle-aged men. Nobody wants to be around that. You know where bitterness comes from? Unforgiveness. Forgive every person of everything. Now that might take some prayer, and that might take some time, but forgive them. See, forgiveness has nothing to do with the person you forgive, or very little. Sometimes it affects them, but has everything to do for you. If you learn to forgive people, that bitterness leaves. It's gone. All that anger, all that hate, it's gone. Forgive every person for everything. Even if they've hurt you very deeply. And now this doesn't always get really easy though. What if somebody killed a family member? Forgive them. Now see, we think if we forgive them, then they're off the hook. There is no justice or vengeance. No. That's not the truth. Remember two things about justice and vengeance. Neither one of them belong to you as an individual. Justice belongs to the government. It was ordained by God that the government does justice. You know why? Because God doesn't want us going out doing justice because it creates bitterness in our hearts. He's asked us to forgive the individual and let the government do its job. Number two, vengeance. That's not our job. That belongs to who? God. Don't do God's job. Don't do the government's job and don't do God's job. You do your job and forgive every person of everything. Now again, you may have to go to God and do some praying. God, I hate them right now. Help me. God, I want to hurt them. I want to hurt them bad. Help me. Help me get to a place of forgiveness. I don't know if I told the story here. I may have. I don't know. If I have, stop me and I'll tell a different story. I was going to write my first book, and I was talking to this girl on, this is how long ago, it was on Yahoo chat, when a messenger, Yahoo Messenger. Nobody uses that anymore, everybody's Facebook. And we were talking a little bit, and she asked me what I was doing, and I said, well, right now I'm talking to you and then writing a little on my book. She goes, oh, you're writing a book? Long story here, okay, but hang in with me. I said, yeah. She goes, what is it about? And I said about, you know, the golden rule and to, you know, treat others how you want to be treated. And I said something about, I'm on the part right now where about forgiveness. And I said it's kind of difficult, but, you know, I'm trying to explain about forgiveness. And she started crying. I said, whoa, 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 I'm sorry. And she goes, no, you need to write that part. You got to say it. I said, why? What's going on? I told this at camp. That's where I've told this. I said, why? What's going on? She tells the story about when she woke up, middle of the night, there was a man in her room. He grabbed her and her sister and took her to where they were building houses, you know, a subdivision, so there's nobody there, and they're building houses, and raped her, and then raped her sister. And she still remembers holding her sister's hand while she was being raped and said, it'll be okay. He left them there and left, and a A few weeks later, the same guy raped another girl, but he killed her. And then he raped a couple more, and eventually he was caught. And she was happy that he was caught, but she hated him. Now, do you blame her? She was only like 13, 14 years old. Hated him. Went to court, testified against him, hated him. His sister, because her mom kept saying, you got to forgive him, you got to forgive him. And she would always say, forgive him? What? Look what he did to me. Long story short, after her fourth marriage, because no man was going to treat her like that again, she was a Christian, and those kept bringing her head. My mom said, I need to forgive him, I need to forgive him. She finally went forward during church and prayed to God and said, God, help me forgive him. It took a little while, but she reached a point where she could forgive him. And then God said, go tell him. Go tell him you forgave him. So she went to prison, and this guy's a pretty famous person now because all that he did. And she went and wanted to meet him, and he came, and when he came to the glass, he recognized her right away, even though now she's like in her 40s. He goes, what do you want? She said, I'm just here to tell you that I forgive you. And he laughed. He said, I don't care, and laughed at her. But she said, Mike, it was like everything, all that bitterness, all that hate, everything that had been holding me back my entire life, at that moment was gone. Gone. She finally found a guy, and she's, as far as I know, to this day, I haven't talked to her in a few more years. It's been 3 or 4 years since I last talked to her. But anyhow, she was still married to this guy. Changed her whole life because she let go of all that hate and anger and bitterness and forgave him. Have this a consistent principle in your life, and it'll keep you stable. It'll keep you with answers. You know what to do when things come up. You'll know exactly what to do. When somebody hurts you again, the next time you're in pain by somebody wrong, they did you wrong, and they definitely did you wrong, you already know what you're supposed to do if you have this consistent principle. Forgive everyone for everything. It's a part of my life ever since then, especially. When she told me that story, it's always been a part of my life to forgive everyone for everything. I'm not saying I'm perfect with it. It takes me time sometimes. It takes prayer. But I do it. Because I don't want that bitterness and that anger in me. You go through these lists yourself. I'm almost done here. And learn to make these a principle, a consistent principle in your life. And you'll always have answers of what to do. And you'll be a stable individual. Someone that people can look up to. Someone who has a good name. And you may not have all the riches in the world and all the things of this world, but the Bible says a good name is more important than that. More important than that. Be a person of principles. Know what you believe, men. Know what you stand on. Know who you are. If not, this world's going to smack you from one place to the other and over and back because you don't know what to do. I'll make it up as I go along. It's not an answer. It's not an answer. I could go on and on with this. One last thing. The Bible tells us one story about a man who built his house upon a rock, and another man built his house on the sand. Now the house and the rock and the sand got hit by a storm, and the Bible says the house on the rock stood because it was on a firm foundation. The house on the sand crumbled because he had no principles. The rock does represent God, but it also can represent what you believe and who you are and your principles in life. And if you have none, you will fall for anything. And storms will come, and you will get hit, and there will be problems in life. And you need to know what you stand for and who you are. All right, let's take a 10-minute break.